Welcome back to the You Can Too podcast. In today's episode, we're jumping through 7 mindsets that have positively impacted my life. If you are not already, please go give me a follow on Instagram at James Bracken IV, and be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a future episode. And if you've listened to this podcast and you've enjoyed it, leave me a rating and review on Spotify. It helps me reach more people. I'm able to help more people in the process. And if you want to get more content like this, check out the show notes below. It's going to be the Mindful Minute, the weekly newsletter where I help you live with more intention and more mindfulness in less than 60 seconds. The first mindset that I've taken in my life, and it's changed the way that I approach my life, is that when you win the morning, you win the day. When you scroll on your phone first thing in the morning, you are prioritizing other people above yourself. When your mornings they're supposed to be sacred, it's the time for yourself so that you can propel into your day in the best mindset, right? The 5 a.m. Club talks about it. It's something you definitely need to read if you're not really prioritizing your mornings, because it's something that's so important to realize is that if you start your day scrolling on your phone, the rest of your day is going to be filled with scrolling on your phone. If you start your day with meditation or maybe reading a book, you will start your day and finish your day on a positive note because you're starting your day with intention. How you start your day reflects on how the rest of the day is going to go. And so if you win your morning, you're way more likely to win your day. If you start your day on a positive note, the end of the day is likely going to end on a positive note. But you have to be intentional about your mornings. And so what's something that you can rely on every single morning that's going to put you in a position to win your day? For me, every single morning, the first thing I do before I do anything else is I meditate. It gets me in a place I may never feel like doing it, but that's why I do it the first thing in the morning. Because instead of hitting my phone and scrolling on my phone, it's the first thing that I do. I get time for myself and I program my subconscious first thing in the morning. What's that thing for you? Maybe it's the gym. Maybe it's reading a book. And it doesn't matter what that thing is, but you need to find something that gets you in a position to win your day. But you have to first win your morning. Number 2 is shoot your shot with everything. With this podcast, I've had some guests on the podcast that I didn't think were really possible to come on the show. And the only way they came on the show was I shot my shot. Like I sent them a cold DM or I sent them a cold email. And that may be a girl for you or a guy, whatever that thing is. Maybe it's a job, like whatever that thing is, truthfully, shoot your shot. We're here once. And if you keep delaying this process of, man, like it's uncomfortable. I don't really know if I should do it. What if I get rejected? What if it doesn't work? Well, then it doesn't work. But you will not know if you do not try. We are here once, and you don't want to get to the end of your life regretting what you could have done or what could have happened simply because you were too afraid of being rejected or failing, right? There's a lot of people that I've asked to come on the show that didn't, and that's perfectly okay. But there's also a lot of people that came on the show that I'm grateful for. But you will never know if you simply don't ask. So let go of this idea of failure, this idea of rejection, because it's really redirection. It's really pointing you in a direction like, okay, it didn't happen, but maybe it will happen in the future. Right? Maybe it's a job that you're going towards and you feel like this is the perfect thing for me and they don't accept you. Well, that's perfectly okay, but you wouldn't have known if you didn't actually attempt to go towards it. Right? So shoot your shot. And whatever that thing is, you may not wake up tomorrow. Keep that in the back of your mind or in the forefront of your mind, because it's something that you really need to take into perspective because it will change the way you approach your life. Number 3 is live every day, 24 hours at a time. Something that happens way too often is we focus on yesterday. We focus on what we have to do tomorrow, what we have to do this week. We focus so much on where we want to go, where we used to be. We get so focused on all the stressors that we have in our life. And I completely understand. But it has to happen. The day has to happen where you take a step back and you realize that there is only today. There's only this moment right now. As I'm recording this podcast, there's nothing else in my mind but providing value to you because there's nothing else going on. The only thing that is happening right now is me recording this podcast. The only thing that you're doing right now is listening to this podcast. If you're listening to this podcast, let go of all the things that are going to happen in the future that you think are going to happen. Let go of all of the regrets that you could have from yesterday. Live 24 hours at a time because you may not wake up tomorrow. So you don't want to regret getting to the end of your life, always being focused on what's next or always being focused on what already happened. Because in reality, there is only right now. And you'll realize that you have a lot more time in your days when you're actually present in them. Number 4 is go one more every time. Doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're sitting in a cold plunge, do a minute longer. If you're running a mile, do a mile longer. If you're doing reps at the gym, do one more rep. We have only one reputation with ourselves. And I don't think anyone really puts this into perspective enough. We have one reputation with ourselves. And every single time we say we're going to do something, and maybe we do it, maybe we do one less, we damage our reputation with ourselves. So when we take this into perspective, we realize like, okay, yeah, I say I'm going to do 10, but I do 11. How do you think that's going to change the way that you look at yourself? Because our self-image guides how we act in our day. And how we act in our day guides the results that we get in our life. And the results that we get in our life goes right back into how we look at ourselves. And so the only way we're going to get better results is if we set the standard for ourselves as higher than we're setting it right now. If you say you're going to do 10 push-ups, do 11. If you say you're going to run a mile, do 2. Whatever that thing is, I promise you that when you start doing one more than you said you're going to do, it's going to change the way you look at yourself. It's going to change your relationship with yourself. Your relationship with yourself is going to skyrocket because you're going to realize that when you say you do something, you're going to do something, you do it and one more. Changes the way you look at yourself, changes the way that you show up in the world, and it changes your life in the process. Number 5 is let go of what you can't control. When we focus on what's going to happen tomorrow or we think is going to happen tomorrow, even more so, what happened yesterday, the uncontrollables in the world, we get so attached to this idea that we can control it. We think that overthinking gives us some kind of control over the situation, which it doesn't. It's a falsehood of safety, which truly doesn't help in any way, right? And so when we can take a step back and we can realize that all we really have control over is our actions and what's going on in this present moment, we'll start to realize that, man, there's a lot more that this present moment has in store for us when we're actually present in it. And something I find very often within myself and within my clients, within the world, is that we're always focused on this goal, this next thing. And when we're always focused on what's next, we're in this position of striving. We're in this position of, I'm the person that's almost there. I'm the guy that's always almost at my goal. And when you're the person that's always almost there, that's the kind of self-image you have with yourself. And that's why most people self-sabotage their goals, because they see themselves as a kind of person that is almost there. And so when you surrender to the process and realize that you're exactly where you're supposed to be, you shouldn't be any further along. It's just an idea that you create in your head that you should be further along, that you should be at that goal. And you realize that, man, the only way I can actually enjoy my life and this process is surrendering to the process and being where I am. That's what's going to lead you to the life that you want to live, but not attaching or striving for that goal. So take that perspective and focus on the controllables, because it's the only thing that you have control over. Number 6 is how you do one thing is how you do everything. In every way that you show up in your life, whether it's hitting the snooze in the morning, whether it's going to work, whether it's at the gym, whatever that thing is, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And I reflect this when I played baseballs. When I was in practice, I was the guy that, I was showing up 100% in practice, because the way I show up in practice is the way I'm going to show up in the game. And you got to think about that in your everyday life, your daily habits. The way that you show up for them is going to way that they show up in your results, right? And so if your results are not where you'd like them to be, take a step back and look at how you've been showing up for yourself every day. Take a look at the small things that you may have neglected, or you may have taken a step back and realized, like, man, it's not that important. You maybe undermined how important the things are, but how you do one thing is how you do everything. And how you do one thing reflects in the way that your results show up in the world. And so start to show up. And this is going to be the overarching theme of this whole podcast, is that the way that you show up for yourself reflects in the way that your results happen in the world. Number 7 is to seek discomfort. This goes back to shooting your shot and how you do one thing is how you do everything. We are here once. And the thing that you're avoiding because it's uncomfortable, because it's scary, because you have a fear of failure, because you have a fear there, whatever that fear is, you have to face it. Getting into entrepreneurship was one of the scariest things for me in my life, but it also opened up a door and a path of networking and fulfillment and freedom that I never thought was possible. But the only way I realized it was possible was taking a ginormous step out of my comfort zone and actually realizing that it is. So you have to seek discomfort. Don't wait for discomfort to come to you. Don't wait for the life that you want to live to come to you, because it's not going to happen. The longer you wait, the longer you put off the life that you deserve to live. And the sooner you seek discomfort, the sooner you'll realize that the life that you want to live is waiting outside of that thing that you're avoiding. And so these are 7 mindsets that have absolutely changed the direction of my life. And I hope they have a massive impact on you, because if you really take them into perspective and really realize the impact that they'll have on your life, and you actually implement them, you'll start to realize that the small things in the long run really are the big things. And so I hope this podcast helped. For anything else, DM me on Instagram. I would love to chat with every single one of you. I appreciate you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode.